This happened a few weeks ago. I'm 32 and have been serious about photography for a while now. I thought moving to the Appalachians would help me capture some amazing shots with all the nature around. I found this little cabin near a quiet trailhead. It felt perfect. The air was crisp, and it was mostly just me and the sounds of the woods. I thought I'd found my happy place, but maybe I was wrong. I've never stopped thinking about what happened that second night. That evening, I set up my camera near the cabin. The sun was falling behind the mountains. I took photos of the vibrant orange and pink sky. Everything felt peaceful. I heard a soft rustle behind me. I looked back but didn't see anything, just trees and the fading light. I finished up and headed inside as darkness settled around me. I cooked a simple dinner and ate by the window. The woods were silent. I felt cozy, but something felt off. My heart raced for no reason. Later I lay in bed, hearing the faint sounds of the night. The wind whispered through the trees. The world outside seemed alive, but I was alone. Then I heard it again, a faint sound. It was a voice, soft at first, but getting louder. I crept out of bed. I grabbed my flashlight and opened the door quietly. The beam of light cut through the darkness. I swept it around the yard. Nothing. Just trees stretching along the edge of the cabin's dim light. Then I heard it again, clearer this time. "Help me," it said, echoing from deeper in the woods. My heart raced. I stepped onto the porch and called out, "Hello? Is anyone out there?" My voice quaked in the stillness. Silence. I waited, holding my breath. I thought about going back inside, but my feet moved forward. I felt drawn to the sound. I stepped off the porch and into the overgrown path. The air turned colder. I turned on the flashlight and followed the voice. As I walked, the trees grew thicker. Shadows felt like they were watching me. I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment, hoping the feeling would go away. But it didn't. My pulse quickened as I followed the voice. "Help me," it came again. I turned another corner, and there she was, a woman in a tattered white dress. Her hair hung in front of her face. I froze. "Please," she said, her voice hauntingly soft. "Help me." "Are you okay?" I asked, stepping closer. The beam of my flashlight flashed on her face, but her eyes were empty. "Turn back," she whispered, and at that moment the air around me warbled. My breath hitched. I stumbled back, but it was too late. She lunged forward, a scream coming from her lips. I felt something cold grip my ankle. I looked down, and all that surrounded me was darkness. Then, everything went silent. I blinked, and I was standing by my cabin. The night was still again. I was back at the porch. But when I looked down at my camera, I saw a photo taken just moments ago. In it was the woman, staring back at me, eyes wide and mouth open as if screaming. I dropped the camera. The woods watched me, and I felt them hungry for more. The next morning the sunlight felt foreign. I didn't want to get out of bed. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the night before. My heart raced again just thinking about it. The woman's face haunted me. I had to shake it off. I finally got up, made some coffee, and looked at my camera. The photo was still there, a chilling reminder of what I had seen. I thought about deleting it, but something held me back. Curiosity, maybe. I decided to head back to the spot where I found her. I needed answers, or at least a rational explanation. The path to the woods felt different in daybreak. Sunlight filtered through the trees, casting patches of warmth on the ground. But even with the daylight, I shivered. I retraced my steps from last night, my pulse quickening with every crunch of leaves beneath my feet. When I reached the clearing, my breath caught in my throat. The air buzzed around me, prickling my skin. I took a few hesitant steps further in. I felt a chill, a wave of dread washing over me. I forced myself to scan the area, desperate for any sign of the woman. Instead, I found something else. An old wooden sign barely legible through the wear of time. It read, Witch's Hollow, do not enter. A knot formed in my stomach. I remembered hearing local tales about this area, stories about ghosts and restless spirits. I had brushed them off, dismissing them as folklore, until now. Just as I started to back away, something caught my eye in the corner of the clearing. It was a small, rusted metal locket. I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a photograph, a young girl in a white dress. I froze. Her haunting resemblance to the woman from last night grabbed me. "Please," a whisper echoed around me. I spun around, flashlight clutched tightly. It was the same voice from before. Fear surged through me like ice water. I darted back towards the cabin. As I ran, branches scratched at my arms, and shadows danced just out of sight. "Help me," the voice called again, but the whisper twisted into a wail. I burst through the cabin door and slammed it shut behind me. My heart hammered against my ribcage. I leaned against the door, taking shuddering breaths. I turned the lock, but deep inside I knew it wouldn't help. Suddenly I heard a soft knock on the window. My stomach dropped. I hesitated, my eyes darting around the room, searching for refuge. I wanted to ignore it, to pretend it wasn't happening. But the knocking continued, insistent and desperate. Then I noticed something on my desk. It was the camera. Still, the photo of the woman remained open, but now there was another one beside it. I leaned closer. This new photo showed something else entirely. A pair of eyes staring from outside the cabin, right where I had run from. Panic clawed at my throat. Who, what, was out there? And why did they want me to help? In that moment I knew I couldn't stay inside. I had to figure this out. I had to go back out there, but the mere thought of facing whatever was lurking in the shadows terrified me. Then I heard the voice again, this time clearer, closer. "Help me." And I knew I had to listen. I stood frozen in front of the door, heart racing. The voice echoed in my mind, pulling me in. I couldn't ignore it. With a deep breath, I moved to the window. I peeked outside, my hands trembling. The woods loomed before me, and the clearing felt even more ominous in the daylight. Nothing seemed to move, yet the silence was thick and suffocating. "Help me." The whisper curled around me again, now almost pleading. It was almost as if the very trees cared, sensing my hesitation. I gripped the window frame, wrestling with my instincts. I had to know what was happening. Gathering my courage, I flung the cabin door open. The sunlight spilled over me, but it did little to chase away the chill that gnawed at my bones. I took a few cautious steps toward the clearing, adrenaline surging through me. Once there, I could see where the rusted locket had glinted in the sunlight. I scanned the ground, hoping for any more clues. My eyes fell on a series of footprints, partially washed away by the rain, leading deeper into the woods. They were small, definitely not made by an adult. Following them seemed insane, yet I felt an uncontrollable pull. I followed the tracks, each step fueled by a mix of dread and curiosity. The trees began to close in around me, their branches twisting like gnarled fingers. Suddenly, I heard a snapping sound, a branch breaking to my left. My heart raced, and I turned to see if something lurked behind the trees. Nothing. Just the rustling leaves and the strange quiet of the forest. Swallowing hard, I pressed on. I reached a larger clearing where the sunlight broke through in major shafts. The ground was littered with strange objects, broken dolls, old bottles, and remnants of what looked like an ancient fire pit. This was far from normal. Then I spotted something glimmering within the debris. I moved closer, my heart pounding, and found another locket. I lifted it, expecting a similar photograph, but instead, a short piece of paper fell out. It read, "Find her before it's too late." My breath hitched. I flipped the locket open, but no picture resided within. An empty void stared back at me. Panic began to claw at my throat again. Who was her? What was I supposed to do? I turned back, resolve hardening within me. I had to find out what all this meant. But as I stepped away, I heard a giggle, a girl's laugh echoing from the direction I had come. A feeling of dread washed over me again. "Help me." The voice grew stronger, almost commanding. I spun around, a wave of energy forcing me to look back into the woods. The shadows seemed to twist and shift. I wasn't alone. Someone was watching me. "Help me." The voice transformed into a low, chilling chant, repeating like an incantation. The air crackled with tension. The trees swayed, as if alive and hungry. And then I saw her. A figure emerged from the shadows, dressed in white, her eyes wide and pleading. My heart dropped into my stomach. "Don't be afraid," she said softly, but her voice carried a weight that crushed my chest. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. "Help me." And just like that, everything went dark. Light filtered back into my vision, but everything felt distorted. I was lying on the forest floor, damp leaves under me, the scent of moss and earth filling my nose. Panic gripped me and I bolted upright. The clearing was empty, no sign of the girl. My heart raced as I scanned the surroundings, half expecting her to leap out from behind the trees. Nothing, just the quiet rustle of leaves and the occasional distant bird call. I pushed myself to my feet and brushed off the debris clinging to my clothes. The locket was still in my hand. I had to remember what she looked like, but her face slipped from my memory like sand through my fingers. All I had left was her voice echoing in my mind. "Help me." The urge to flee surged through me, but I fought it down. I needed answers. I turned back to the strange objects littered across the clearing. What had happened here? The inscriptions in the journals left behind. Had someone else been here too? Or was it all just a figment of my imagination? As I approached the fire pit, the memories vague and murky, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. More footprints, deeper impressions than the ones I'd followed earlier. They led around the edge of the clearing and disappeared into a thicker part of the forest. I was far too curious and maybe a bit reckless, but I followed them. The trees closed in around me again, making the air feel heavy and still. Every step felt like a test of my resolve. Just as I was about to turn back, I heard it again. A soft giggle, playful and light, drifting through the trees. "Help me." The voice was like a puppet on strings, pulling me forward deeper into the woods. I felt both exhilarated and terrified. I pushed on, navigating through narrow paths entwined with roots and low-hanging branches. Then I heard a different noise, a snapping twig, more deliberate this time. I froze. Someone was definitely there. My eyes darted around, searching through the shrouded branches. The last thing I wanted was to stumble onto something I wasn't supposed to see. "Help me. Please." The voice was closer now, trembling like a whisper, but filled with urgency. It felt too poignant, too real to be a trick of my mind. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice shaky but defiant. The woods responded only with silence. From the corner of my eye, I caught movement. A flash of white in the distance, a glimpse of a figure disappearing around a tree. I followed instinctively. But as I turned, I tripped over a root, tumbling forward. My palms scraped against the soil as I pushed myself up. Just as I regained my footing, the clearing around me shifted. It was like the woods were alive, trees bending unnaturally, shadows stretching longer. There in front of me was a child, barefoot with tangled hair and wide eyes that seemed to hold a secret. "Help me," she said again. But this time it was not a plea. It was sleek, shrouded with something darker. My heart raced. I wanted to believe I could help her, but doubt clung to my mind. Before I could say anything, she turned and ran, deeper into the woods, pulling me along once more. "Wait!" I shouted, desperation fueling my words. Then everything shifted again. The path closed behind me as if I were being led into darkness without a way back. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I saw shadows moving again, lurking in the periphery, their intentions shrouded in the twisting branches. I had to keep up. I may have been running toward danger, but there was no turning back now. I sprinted after the girl, adrenaline pulsing through my veins. Every instinct screamed at me to stop, to turn back and escape this madness. But the echo of her voice kept me moving. The shadows flickered closer, almost wrapping around my legs, urging me forward. I stumbled into a denser part of the forest. The trees loomed over me, their branches clawing at my hair and clothes, as if the woods themselves wanted to restrain me. Each breath seemed heavier. The light dimmed, and I felt swallowed by the dark. Then I saw her again just ahead. Her white dress glimmered like a beacon as she darted between trees. "Help me," she cried again, and this time there was a note of desperation that gripped my heart. "Wait, I want to help you," I shouted, but she vanished again, slipping away as if she belonged to the shadows. I hesitated, glancing back, unsure if I should keep chasing her or escape into the safety of the bright clearing. Then, something else caught my eye. A shape crouched low to the ground near the base of a tree. My heart raced anew. I approached cautiously, fear flooding my senses. It was a doll, covered in dirt and leaves, its glassy eyes seemingly staring right at me. I picked it up. It was strangely warm, and as I inspected it, I noticed its dress matched the one the girl wore. My pulse quickened. What was happening here? Why did the girl want me to help her? Just then, a low growl echoed through the trees. I dropped the doll, heart pounding as I whipped around. In the distance, dark shapes moved between the trees, low to the ground. They looked like wolves, but were too large, too distorted. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light. "Help me." The girl's voice drifted back, but it was mixed now with a chorus of howls that sent chills through my bones. Without thinking, I took off again, adrenaline propelling me forward. I could hear the wolves following, their footfalls heavy and relentless behind me. The girl sprinted ahead, weaving in and out of trees, but I had to focus on not being caught. Then something shifted in the air. The trees around me warped and twisted, shifting the path like a maze. I stopped, panting, pressing my back against a gnarled trunk. I had lost sight of her, the growls now sounding closer and more aggressive. My heart dropped when I felt the ground tremble slightly beneath me. The shadows pooled like water, forming shapes, creatures from the dark ready to ensnare me. "No," I whispered, panic rising again. That's when I saw it, a hollow in the base of the tree, just large enough for me to slip into. I dove inside, barely squeezing through as branches scratched at my back. I pulled my knees to my chest, trying to suppress my shaky breaths. Through the cracks in the wood, I could see their eyes searching, prowling around my hiding place. I was trapped, but there was no time to think about escaping. With a low rumble, the growls echoed louder, and then suddenly everything went quiet. I froze, straining to hear. My heart was pounding as I waited for the next sound. But amidst the silence, a new voice whispered through the woods, familiar yet eerie. "Help me." My stomach twisted. The girl's voice. She was near. But was it really her? Or was it a lure, meant to draw me out into the waiting jaws of the shadows? I had to decide, stay hidden or risk everything for the chance to find her. I sat in the hollow, my breath loud in the quiet space. The shadows outside were still, but anxiety buzzed through me. The girl's voice echoed, just a whisper on the wind. "Help me." My mind raced. Was she in danger? Or was whatever hunted her now hunting me too? I had to find her. The decision was made before I realized it. I couldn't let fear rule me. Cautiously, I peered out from my hiding place. The forest was eerily still, the growls replaced by an unsettling silence. I bit my lip, steeling myself. I needed to choose, move or remain. My instincts screamed for me to run. I squeezed through the hollow, branches scratching my arms. The air felt thick, pressing against my skin. I stepped cautiously into the outside world, scanning for any sign of movement. Silence hung heavy like a weight on my chest. Then I heard it again. "Help me." The voice sounded closer this time. I followed the sound, moving faster despite the dread twisting in my stomach. I stumbled through the underbrush, pushing aside leaves and vines. Shadows danced at the corners of my vision, taunting me. As I moved deeper into the trees, a chilling breeze swept through, making the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Then, as if in response to the cold, I saw something. A flicker of white between the trees. The girl's dress glimmered just ahead. "Wait!" I shouted, desperation rising in my throat. She turned, her face momentarily illuminated by the moonlight. Her eyes were wide and terrified. "Please, they're coming!" she cried before vanishing again, disappearing into the darkness. I rushed forward, intent on catching up to her. But the forest thickened around me, branches closing in like a trap. The once familiar path twisted, disorienting me. Panic surged. Where was I? As I navigated through the dense trees, the growls returned, low and guttural. The sound vibrated through the ground like a storm approaching. I picked up my pace, heart racing. Suddenly, the undergrowth erupted around me. A massive shape lunged from the shadows, snarling. My instincts kicked in and I darted to the side, narrowly avoiding its snapping jaws. I could see it now. What I had thought were wolves were something more menacing. Their fur was dark as night. Their eyes glowed with a feral hunger. I turned to run, but there were more of them now, their figures appearing from the dark like phantoms. They chased me, their growls echoing in my ears. My breath came in desperate gasps, limbs fueled by the surge of fear coursing through me. "Help me!" The girl's cry pulled me onward, a lifeline in the terror. I pushed harder, feet pounding the forest floor, but the shadows closed in, the wolves snapping at my heels. That's when I stumbled upon something strange, a large stone altar, moss-covered and ancient, rising abruptly from the ground. It felt out of place, unnatural. I skidded to a halt, the growls of the wolves momentarily fading as I gaped at the structure. Confusion and fear battled within me. What was this place? Why was it here? And then I realized it wasn't just the girl who needed help. I felt a pull towards the altar, a call that thrummed beneath my skin. Before I could think, I took a step toward it. The growls intensified behind me, a reminder that time was running out. I hesitated. What would I find? Was this where the girl needed me? Then a flash of white caught my eye again. She was beside the altar, beckoning me. Something was wrong. I had to make a choice, but deep in my gut I sensed it was already too late. I took a deep breath, trembling as I stood at the altar's edge. The moonlight bathed it in an eerie glow, illuminating strange markings carved into the stone. They looked like symbols, abstract and twisted, and they seemed to shift if I stared too long. The girl's figure flickered beside the altar again. "Please, trust me." Her desperate plea cut through my fog of fear. I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe there was a way out of this nightmare. But the growls of the creatures behind me sent a chill down my spine. I could hear their claws scraping against the earth, the rustling leaves amplifying their approach. Time was slipping away fast. I took a hesitant step forward. "What do I do?" I shouted, half to her and half to the void that surrounded me. "Activate the altar," she cried, her eyes wide with urgency. "It's your only chance." Before I could think it through, I reached out and placed my palm on the cool stone. A jolt of energy coursed through me, like the rush of cold water. I could feel the symbols humming beneath my touch, vibrant and alive. A flash of memories washed over me, fragments of a history I didn't understand, tales of sacrifices and battles fought long ago. But as soon as I felt the connection, pain lanced through my hand. It was as if the altar recognized fear, feeding on it. I yanked back, staggering as a wave of shadows surged around me, the wolves breaking free from the darkness. Their glowing eyes locked onto me, filled with hunger and rage. "Activate it!" she screamed again, her voice breaking through the panic. I looked at her, seeing her fear mirrored in my own. "You have to embrace it." With every moment, the shadows pressed in closer, the growls vibrating through my bones. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and reached for the altar once more. This time, I steadied my mind and focused on the girl. I wanted to help her. I could feel something building within me, like a hot ember waiting to ignite. Then I pushed my energy into the stone, forcing my will through the pain. The symbols flared to life, glowing with an intense light that pierced the darkness. An echoing boom erupted from the altar, sending shockwaves through the ground. The wolves paused. Confusion flickered across their predatory faces. They recoiled, yet the shadows still twisted around them, holding their forms at bay. I could feel the energy pulsing beneath my hands, a growing power that churned in my chest. "Keep going!" The girl's voice was urgent, almost frantic now. "You're almost there." But just as I tried to channel more energy, the forest erupted in chaos. The wolves lunged forward, their fangs snapping just inches from my face. I stumbled back, my heart racing. Everything felt unsteady, like the ground might give way. In that moment I realized I was standing on a precipice, not just of the altar, but of my own fear. I had to take a leap of faith. As I staggered, I caught a glimpse of something glimmering in the shadows at the altar's base. I squinted, heart pounding. It looked like a key, a small object filled with light, pulsating as if alive. That was when everything went dark. I gasped for air as consciousness slowly returned. My eyes fluttered open, but I found myself in a different place. Gone was the altar with its eerie glow. Instead, I lay on the damp ground, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to lean closer, as if they had secrets to whisper. "Where am I?" I mumbled, rubbing my temples. A throbbing headache accompanied my confusion. I pushed myself up, scanning my surroundings. The woodlands were darker now, shrouded in a thick fog. "Over here." The girl's voice broke through the haze. She stood a few yards away, her figure shimmering like a mirage. Panic surged in me again. "Did it work?" I called out. "Yes, but it's not safe here," she replied, glancing over her shoulder. "The creatures are looking for you." My heart dropped. "What about the key?" I saw it before everything went dark. "The key." She hesitated, her eyes darting. "It's not just a key, it's a piece of the altar's power. You need it to control what's to come." I felt the ground shift beneath me. My instincts kicked in. "We have to find it." Before I had a chance to move, I heard it, growling and rustling in the bushes nearby. It sent ice through my veins. "We have to run." Without thinking, I grabbed her wrist and bolted deeper into the woods. The fog thickened as we ran, making it hard to see where we were going. I could sense the creatures behind us, their breath hot on my neck. They were closer now, and I could almost make out their forms in the murkiness. "Left!" she shouted, pulling me in another direction. We stumbled, branches clawing at our skin as we fought through the underbrush. My lungs burned from the effort and desperation kicked in. What if we can't find the key? "We have to believe," she insisted, her voice steady despite the chaos around us. "Focus on what you felt when you touched the altar. Remember the power." I tried to concentrate, but everything felt jumbled. A pulse of energy, the weight of fear, and then darkness. The creatures were still closing in, their growls growing louder. Then, a flash of light caught my eye in the fog ahead. There, I pointed, adrenaline flooding my veins. The glimmer was stronger now, almost guiding us, a beacon in the darkness. We stumbled toward it, breathless. As we got closer, I could see what looked like an old stone pedestal, its surface covered in the same strange markings as the altar. But this time, something else rested at its base. A small, glowing key. "I can feel it," I whispered, reaching for it without hesitation. Just as my fingers wrapped around the cool surface, a loud howl echoed through the trees. The creatures were upon us. "Grab it!" she screamed. I yanked the key free, and the energy surged through me, stronger than before. The fog thickened, but suddenly I felt a shift. The balance of power was in my hands. Before I could react, shadows lunged from the darkness. The world around me spun, and I realized we weren't alone anymore. "Watch out!" I shouted, the urgency of the moment crashing over me as I prepared for the fight of my life. Just as I braced myself, the shadows broke free from the fog. They were not just shapes. They were grotesque creatures, all gnashing teeth and sharp claws. I could barely see their eyes, glowing like embers. The memory of fear flooded back, and I gripped the key tightly, hoping it would somehow lend me strength. I stepped in front of the girl, ready to fend them off. But she tugged my arm. "No, we can't fight them. We have to focus." I turned to the pedestal, the key vibrating slightly in my palm as if it knew what was coming. I was terrified, but deep down, I felt a flicker of new determination. "What do I do?" I asked her, my voice trembling. "Use the key, call upon its power," she urged, her eyes wide with panic. With every growl that echoed around us, the creatures drew nearer. I realized what had to be done. I had to summon the energy of the key. I stepped back to the pedestal, and as I did, an electric charge filled the air. "Together," I whispered, glancing at the girl. She nodded, her eyes focused on the creatures, then back on me. I pressed the key to the pedestal. The moment it touched the stone, the markings flared with radiant light. A pulse surged through me, connecting me to everything around. The roots of the trees vibrated, and the fog lifted, revealing the full horror of the creatures before us. They shrieked in confusion, momentarily halted by the light. But the intensity of that moment didn't last. The creatures regained their bearings fast and charged. A heavy sense of dread slammed into my chest as I scrambled to keep my balance. "Hold them back," she shouted. "Get ready," I yelled. The light seemed to form a barrier around us, but I could feel it wavering. I tried to channel my thoughts into the pedestal, visualizing a wall, a shield, something to protect us. The key warmed in my hand, urging me on. Then the first creature lunged. There was no time to think. I thrust my arm forward. A blast of energy erupted from the key, illuminating the night, pushing the creature back. It screamed, dissolving into shadows. I stared, stunned. "Did you see that?" "Yes, keep going," she yelled, her voice reigniting my resolve. I shot another wave towards the approaching forms. One by one, they fell back, screeching against the blast. With each success, I felt the power of the key coursing through me, weaving a tapestry of light that pushed them farther and farther away. But the creatures weren't done. Their numbers were too great. New ones joined the battle, emerging from the depths of the trees. Desperation filled the air. I could feel the strength of the key waning, and I was terrified of what might happen next. "More," she shouted, her voice breaking through my fear. "We need to connect, all of it." I closed my eyes, focusing everything I had left into the key. But just as I found my center, a guttural growl came from behind, more powerful than the others. I whipped around to see the largest beast yet, its size dwarfing the others. "Look out," I screamed, but it was too late. It lunged toward us, its jaws wide open. I had to act, and right then, I felt a cold fear freeze the moment. That's when I saw it, a flash of silver glinting in the creature's teeth. A glimmer of hope and danger rolled together. What is that? I wondered, but I barely had time to think as the creature came crashing toward us with fury, ready to take everything I had just learned. I could either let it overwhelm me or fight back, but I had to make a choice, and fast. I braced myself as the massive beast lunged, the air charged with predatory intent. Instinct pushed me into action, but panic clenched around my throat. I couldn't let fear take over, not now. Focus! The girl's voice cut through the din of my racing thoughts. I gripped the key tighter, the light behind my eyelids pulsing like a heartbeat. I needed to merge my energy with the key, a connection to fight what was coming. This is it, I muttered under my breath, standing my ground. The moment felt surreal, like I was waiting for some cosmic force to shift. The beast charged with an intensity that made the forest quake beneath me. Now, I yelled. This was the moment I had to make count. With a surge of determination, I thrust the key forward, channeling all of my fear and anger into a single radiant beam of energy. It shot from the tip of the key, illuminating the clearing with a blinding light that broke through the fog and filled the space with warmth. The creature met it head-on, its jaws snapping, but the wave of light enveloped it, halting its advance. For a second the growl faltered, transforming into a desperate whimper. Power surged through my veins as the beast's form began to dissolve, the shadows that comprised its body breaking apart like smoke in the wind. "Keep it going. Don't let up," shouted the girl, her eyes wide, reflecting the brilliance of my invocation. I pushed further, pouring every ounce of anxiety and resolve into that light. I could feel the dark presence retreating, constricting against the brightness. The growls transformed to shrieks as one by one the creatures succumbed to the power of the key. The shadows scattered, losing their form, their cries fading into silence. But just as victory felt within my reach, a searing pain shot through my hand. I glanced down to see the key dimming, its brilliance flickering like a candle on the verge of extinguishment. In that instant, I understood that the energy sustaining the key was tied to my own will. If I wavered now, everything I had fought for would unravel. "Don't stop, you're breaking their hold," the girl encouraged, bridging the gap of my strength with her conviction. "You're so close." I locked my eyes onto the last creature, a twisted shade, clawing at the fading light, its essence writhing. I could see fragments of lost souls within, remnants of those who had been trapped here. I thought of the girl, how desperately she wanted to escape this cycle, to be free. I drew from her fear and hope, letting it fuel my resolve. With a final deep breath, I pushed a tidal wave of energy forward, amplifying the light with memories of laughter, love, and life. A new force swept through me, guiding the light from the key as it surged forth. The creature howled as the beam engulfed it, twisting and writhing before evaporating into shimmering dust. And then stillness. The air around us felt different, as if the weight of the night had been lifted, replaced by a profound silence that echoed in the stillness. The fog began to dissipate, revealing the beauty of the forest beneath the moonlight, untouched by fear. I fell to my knees, panting. The key lay in my palm, now a simple, quiet object, devoid of its glow. "Did it work?" I breathed out, struggling to regain my breath. "Yes," the girl exclaimed, rushing to my side. "You did it. We're free." I felt the relief flood through me, but then a gnawing uncertainty crept in. What about those things? Are they really gone? Her expression shifted, a shadow of worry darkening her bright eyes. "They may be gone for now, but this forest, it holds secrets, a cycle that can repeat if we aren't careful." "Can't we do something?" I insisted, the dread creeping back into my heart. "There are others," she said, and her gaze turned distant. "I can guide you, but you have to decide what to do with this truth." I nod slowly, my mind swirling with unanswered questions. "Will I see you again?" "I can't stay forever," she replied softly. "This part of me is free, but I'll be a part of you now." With that, she shimmered before me, her figure fading into the air like mist under the sun. She offered a final, genuine smile, one that filled me with warmth. As her essence became ethereal, something shifted within me, a deeper connectivity to the world around. I realized the power the key held wasn't just in its magic, but in its ability to challenge the unknown. I lingered there in the clearing, staring at the now quiet woods, feeling the pulse of life around me, the whispers of the trees and the air heavy with stories waiting to be told. Yet uncertainty lingered, filling my thoughts. I hadn't resolved everything, and the familiarity of the shadows still tugged at my mind. As I made my way back through the woods towards my cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those shadows ever linger, if the forest is really as free as it seems, but I mostly try not to think about it.